Carnegie Library for another NaNoWriMo update. I am here once again with the illustrious author, Valerie Valdez. Welcome back, Valerie.
Hello, good to be here. Unfortunately, my cat has also decided to photobomb as usual.
It's always nice to see your cat and you as well whenever we do these videos. All right, so we wanted to talk today because we're getting very, very deep into the NaNoWriMo challenge so far. At this point, I have reached about 13,000, just over 13,000 words, and I'm very, very happy about my progress with that. How is your progress coming along so far, Valerie?
I'm doing really well. I'm right on target. So today's goal, I believe, is 15,000 words as of this recording. I am just below that, but I'm on target to hit it today. So
good.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. You know, I've never written this much for a single project before. Like I said, I think I chatted with you before about how I've done a lot more playwriting than novel writing, and so it feels a lot less intensive than working on this novel, but it's a lot, and I'm very excited with the way that we've been going. And yeah, so do you have anything to share with us before we go any further and chat about any of the challenges we may have had throughout the entirety of this whole week so far?
Well, I can definitely speak generally to the kinds of stumbling blocks that you see around now. We're, 9 days in, we're coming up on sort of the middle third, the second act, if you will, of NaNoWriMo. And so this is a very normal low point for most people. This is the point at which, if you were a plotter and you came in with a really solid outline and characters and ideas and all that stuff, you start to second guess everything. It all seems like, every idea that you had before you started is actually just trash. And what were you thinking? And oh no, what are you gonna do now? And then if you're a pantser and you came in like, I'm just gonna make it all up as I go, it's gonna be great, you start to feel like you're just totally wrung out. Your imagination is over. You've got nothing left. You're trying to get blood from a stone, or as I told some friends, you're trying to get sweat from a cold sauna, and it's just not happening. And so it's also the time when your family and friends who maybe have been cheering you on thus far are starting to get a little less cheerful about it. They're starting to miss you. They're starting to miss having a clean house and food on the table. Normal things that they came to believe were normal beforehand, but that for this month may have been slightly nudged aside in favor of microwave meals and a little bit more dust on the mantle. And just other responsibilities as well, trying to balance the work that you normally do on a daily basis and the writing can be very challenging. And so all that stuff coming together can really be a problem. Also, you might start getting new ideas that you're like, well, maybe I could write this other thing instead. It sounds actually much better than the thing I'm writing right now. So perhaps I should just do that. And those are the kinds of pitfalls that a lot of folks are experiencing right now. I don't know if you have any to add to that, or if any of that resonated with you.
You kind of hit the nail on the head. Yes, I've absolutely been experiencing all of those. It's been very hard to schedule everything as when it comes to the writing, and I've been trying to prioritize that a lot, but it's really been, I don't have a lot of time to do the cooking anymore, and I was doing the majority of the cooking beforehand, so it's been a lot of takeout, it's been a lot of frozen meals, and there's a lot of dishes that are still starting to pile up. So.
Oh yeah. Doing dishes takes time, even if you have a dishwasher, and suddenly you find that sink is very much smaller than you thought it was beforehand.
Absolutely is. I've really been struggling keeping up with that goal. There have been several days this week I've not been able to reach the 1,667 because of just everything going on in life. And how did you schedule that? Because I remember in our last conversation that you were talking about scheduling is very, very important. And life just happens.
Oh yeah, life definitely does intrude. And so especially now, what I find can be helpful is to try to wake up just 15 minutes earlier in the morning, not even a huge amount, but have that extra 15 minutes for yourself and do either a 10 or 15-minute sprint, depending on how chipper you are when you wake up. And you don't have to do it first thing when you wake up. It's just you wake up earlier, you do your morning routine earlier, and you slide one extra sprint in there. And then same thing at lunchtime, try to slide in one extra sprint. I recommend either bringing your computer with you to work, or if you work at home, switch to your other project. If you have to, you can write on your phone. It's not the best option, but some of us, we take what we can get. And then at night, same thing, try to put in just one extra 15-minute sprint, work it in while you're waiting for dinner to cook. Try to choose things that have a lot of kind of fallow time if you can, soup, stews, Instapot, anything that you can kind of set it and forget it. Those are the kinds of meal ideas that you want to be reaching for if you're not already stocked up on frozen pizzas. And so those and stuff that will also give you leftovers, because leftovers are also your friends, so definitely useful there. But just as many extra sprints as you can work into the day, that will help you kind of catch back up, find your footing, and try doing them at different times. Spread them out. Even if you can take one 15-minute break at work, which not every job is flexible, so you can't always do that. But if you can just have just one break where you sit down and just real quick knock out 100 words, every little bit helps, every little bit counts, and every little bit gets you closer to your goal.
I do like that. I like that a lot, because I personally am a very scatterbrained individual, I like to think. And so going throughout the day and just typing out at least 100 words, which as I've come to realize, really doesn't feel like that much. As I'm typing through 100 words, I can get through very, very easily without realizing, I just wrote 100 words. So
yeah, and different kinds of scenes are easier for different people. Some folks find it really easy to write dialogue. Some find it very easy to write description. Some find it easy to write kind of interiority, so the characters thinking of things through, talking about their emotions to themselves, that kind of stuff. And so it can also help when you are having sort of a low or fallow day, reaching for whatever it is that you feel strongest at writing, and trying to do a scene that is comprised mostly of that. And then that will often give you a boost. And then the thing about that too is when you have a really successful writing session, it can give you sort of an emotional high that helps you carry you through to your other writing sessions throughout the day and make you feel more successful and more like you're going to be able to accomplish things.
Yes. That really does give me a lot more hope so far about what I've been writing so far. Especially, I mentioned in my first NaNoWriMo update video that on my first day of writing, I was actually in the NaNoLanta Discord group, and I was talking with a lot of people, and just a note to anyone listening, the people on the NaNoLanta Discord are very, very friendly, and they've been very, very helpful, especially by keeping each other motivated throughout the day. I felt very motivated, and everyone felt super nice to talk to and let me know that what I'm working on isn't necessarily as garbage as I think it's going to be. But I did start 2 or 3 different projects before I landed on one that I really, really liked. And even now that I'm 13,000 words in, I do kind of still feel like it's a little bit garbage, but what would you say to people who are really struggling with what they're writing right now?
All right, so I have some sort of tried and true techniques. For one thing, if you're a plotter and you're starting to feel like, none of this makes sense, my plans are terrible, you can go back to your outline and you can, take, again, just like a 15-minute sprint and kind of re-outline and see if you can figure out where to move on going forward. You don't want to edit during this month because that's taking away time that you could be using to write new words. But what you can do is you can, if you decide there's a change that you want to make retroactively, just make a note to yourself and write it forward as if that change has already been been made. So you don't have to go back and fix anything, but you also don't have to keep going in a way that doesn't work for you anymore. So you are allowed to say, okay, I'm going to re-outline this and I'm going to make it go differently than I had thought it was going to go. And then just write forward from that. And then in December, or later, whenever you finish, then you go back and you revise everything so that it has a clear continuity and you change whatever you wanted to change. If you are a pantser, now is a good time to, again, just take a 15-minute sprint and go through the Nano forums, get on some random generator websites and, stockpile some dares, some prompts, some extra characters you can slide in, locations. Every day on the NaNoLanta Twitter accounts and on the Discord and on the forums and even on Instagram, we're posting and Facebook also, we're posting different prompts. And so if you need any kind of little burst of inspiration to try to get you going, you can go to any of those places and get something that you can try to integrate into what you're working on. You can also just kind of keep rewarding yourself. Every time that you reach a milestone, every time you hit another 1,000 words, or every time you get a badge on the Nano site, or every time you hit your daily word count, give yourself some kind of a little treat, even if it's just a cookie, whatever it is that helps motivate you, and keep you writing. That's what you want to do, is you want to support yourself that way and encourage yourself, give yourself kind of a little Pavlovian conditioning so that, you learn to anticipate and expect that you're going to get a treat at the end, and just keep celebrating along the way, whether it's by yourself, with your friends, on the NaNoLanta Discord, with others who are engaged in this project. There are a lot of people out there to support you, like you were saying.
Though I'll be real honest, those NaNoWriMo website badges have really been exciting. Every single time I get a new one, and I almost shed a tear, I'm gonna be honest, when that 7-day streak badge showed up right on my stats page. So I was very, very excited about that.
Yeah, no, every little burst. And another thing that you can do is try to reconnect with what got you excited about the idea in the first place. What stuff, when you first started, were you really excited to write? What did you love about this project that made you want to do it, that, was kind of like it was burning a hole in your psyche and you needed to get it out on the page? And just try to find that emotional state that you started in and reconnect with it, and then carry that forward and let it keep you going for the rest of the month.
Right. So obviously, I really believe that because I am excited about what I'm writing, but like I said, I do worry about it. And like you said, we're not supposed to be editing this month. It's about getting the content out there. And if we need to rework our outline or regain your love for what you've been writing, which definitely means that you want to stay away from that backspace and delete button.
Oh yeah. You just anything that you feel, even if you really need to take something out, if you're like, oh no, I can't look at this anymore, this has to go. You put a strike through and leave it on the page, or you make a separate file and just dump all those words into your dump file, and they still count. You still wrote them, and so they're still part of the word count that you made for this month.
Right. So for those people who have never written a novel before, what kind of structure should I be working on? Because I've never worked on a novel before. Plays have a very easy 3 or 2 or 5-act structure that I've worked with before, but is it different for a novel?
So novels are tricky in that there are a lot of structures you can use, and that can be really helpful in the same way that training wheels are helpful when you're learning to ride a bike, and also that they work, 90% of the time. If you look for something like 3-act structure, or if you look to something like The Hero's Journey or Dan Harmon's Story Circle, these are, at least for Western audiences, very familiar structures that people can use when they're planning their novels, when they're writing their novels. This is stuff that they can reach for to help them kind of put their stories together. And there are a lot of other blueprints out there that are really useful and great. So you can definitely just kind of do a Google search and find different ways, Freytag's Pyramid, and there's a lot out there that can help you kind of put your story together. And so reaching for something like that, if you are flailing a little bit, is really useful. Ultimately, every novel has its own kind of structure. And so sometimes after the fact, you can look at it and go, oh, but I can make it fit into 3-act structure, but maybe it's actually 2 acts, and you have kind of a very clear midpoint that splits it from act 1 to act 2, and things kind of progress that way. Maybe, like you said, you have a 5-act structure and things are arranged in a particular order of events based on that. And maybe the structure that you have, because there's also, how does the plot progress? How does that move? But also, how is the story told? You have some structures that go back and forth in time where, you have a past occurrence and a present occurrence that happen in alternating chapters, or you could have something where the story is told backwards from future to present, or present to past, or something. There are a lot of different ways to structure a story. Ultimately, you can switch your POV character between one scene and another, between one chapter and another. There are so many options, and ultimately you have to go with the one that's best for the story. But that said, if you don't know, you can look for the existing models. And right now, since we're coming into the middle of the story, just a couple of ideas, pointers on what can make a good story middle, just kind of useful key points. Uncertainty is one of them. You have characters and your readers who have questions that they want answered, and they are unsure of what is going to happen next. So you're maintaining that sense of uncertainty as you're writing the middle part. There's also challenges that you're kind of putting your readers through. Their failures are making things worse. Even their successes are leading to new problems, and the internal and external stakes are going up. So the consequences of failure potentially are getting worse. The timer is ticking down relentlessly, and so they have to accomplish their goals before the time is up. And just everything is basically getting harder for them as they go. And they're also wrestling with their own kind of inner demons, whatever inner struggle that they're having as they're attempting to grow and change and become the people that are needed to be able to complete the task and achieve their goals. And so that change is sort of the final main product of a really good middle, is that you have these characters who are potentially becoming better people, overcoming their flaws, using their agency to affect others and their world, and just basically making choices along the way. And so whenever you can, presenting your characters with choices that they have to make, either they do A or they do B, and then you figure out what is the result of that going to be based on the choice that they made. Is it going to make things easier for them? Is it going to make things harder for them? How are other people going to react to whatever happens? But choice is character. Choice illuminates character, and it drives plot. And so those are the kinds of things that you can think of as you are trying to figure out, what on earth am I doing in the middle here? How am I putting this together? And that those elements are more or less going to correspond with any story structure that you choose to take, whether it's 3 acts, 5 acts, 2 acts, or any kind of methodology.
Yeah, that is very, very helpful. Thank you. I know I've definitely been struggling with keeping questions and things just happening, because you're right. And really, it's even in plays, like once you get to that middle part, that's where the main tension has to be to keep the rest of the story going. And yeah, I love the idea that the more questions that your character has, and it really just helps keep driving it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, as Chuck Wendig once said, a question mark is in the shape of a hook. And so the more questions that you can hook your readers with and lure them forward, the better you can maintain that suspense and that interest.
It's very clever. I like that a lot. Thank you. So how have you personally been keeping yourself motivated through this? Because I know you said last time that you are currently working on the 3rd book in your trilogy.
Yes, now a trilogy. And so what I'm doing is every day I am doing sprints. I run them on the NaNoLanta Discord, roughly from about 10 to 5. I run them every half an hour. And so just as many of those sprints as I can make, even if I set it running and don't participate, it's going. But I do try to participate in as many of them as possible so that I can try to get my word count. I attend the write-ins, especially the ones that I'm running. Got to be there for those. And so during the write-in, I also run sprints and keep people writing. Usually I run 15-minute sprints, and so you're guaranteed basically every hour you've got a half an hour of solid writing time, and then half an hour of socializing, commiserating, thinking about what you're supposed to be writing in the next 15 minutes sprint, that kind of thing. But I also try to, at the beginning of my day, have look at my outline again so that I have a solid sense of, okay, what am I writing now? Where am I located in this story? I reread some of what I wrote the day before to once again get back into whatever I was doing. And then I kind of plan out any nitty-gritty stuff that I had not gotten to in my outline. For example, I'm in the middle of a big action sequence, and so in the outline, basically it was, and then action sequence happens, more or less. It was a little more detailed than that, but that was the gist of it. And so I have to choreograph that. I have to sit down and say, okay, well, in this part, this is how this proceeds. They have to do X, Y, Z, and meanwhile the villain is doing this other thing, and it's that kind of back and forth between what the characters are doing, what the antagonists are doing, and how that plays out. But sitting down and just prepping that before I start writing means that the writing itself goes faster. There's an excellent book called 2K to 10K, and some of the techniques you can find online, and that is one of them. Just making sure that even if you're a pantser, before you start writing, in the beginning of the day when you sit down to figure it out, just maybe like a paragraph, you just sit down and write that out and tell yourself what it is that you're going to do before you get started. So that's how I roll. And then at the end of the day, I do give myself a little treat. It's been hot chocolate lately.
That is a good choice. My fiance just bought me a whole bunch of those K-cups of the hot chocolate too, so I've been utilizing those.
Oh yeah, I've got the instant packet. Heat up my milk, throw that stuff in. It's real good.
So I really wanted to be a planter this year. It didn't work out as well as I wanted to because, like I said, I restarted a couple different projects at the beginning, and so I ended up just pantsing most of it. And so how much research into what you're working on do you think really helps out? Because I know you're supposed to write what you know, is what I've always been told when it comes to writing. And I know Santa Claus and I know vampires. And so that's what I'm writing. and so I still feel like I have to do a significant amount of research to do well with this. Is that something that you work with as well? Is just a lot of research into what you're writing?
Oh yeah, I mean, because I'm writing science fiction, and I am not an astrophysicist of any kind whatsoever, there is a lot of research that goes on. And even though I'm more on the space fantasy side of things, and so there's a lot that I can hand wave, a lot that I can play with, a lot that I will ignore for the sake of rule of cool, because I will go with whatever is cool versus whatever is realistic if there is a competition between the two elements. But nonetheless, I still do a lot of research to try to figure out, okay, how does this work? How should it work? How would it work in real life? Things like right now, what am I researching? Well, I'm researching the giant storm on Jupiter. I'm researching ice giant planets. I'm researching, different sorts of mining methods. How do you do gas mining on these planets? How would that work? And so there's a lot of research that will go into individual scenes that I'm writing, individual chapters, and that can definitely take away time from the writing itself. And so that's a thing that I have to balance. I try to do it in between sprints such that, if I have to research something, if I absolutely definitely have to know, like, all right, well, what color would the gases be in this area because I don't want to make them purple, and then, go back and realize, oh, actually they should be brown, whoops. And so I try to do it in the breaks, in those times when I'm not writing. And then when I'm writing, I try to just write. This doesn't always happen. And so I also just try to preload enough sprints that I can have a couple of kind of weaker sprints where I split my time between writing and research, but still, knock out 100, 150 words reliably so that I just stay on target. But I think that, you know, writing what you know is important, but it's also really important to write what you're interested in. And so because you are interested in Santa Claus and vampires, that is something that is going to be cool for you to write. You're going to want to write it. You're going to want to keep working on it past the point where if it were something else that you just were sort of like, well, I know how to write about this, but then you weren't really interested in writing about it, you know, that maybe would lead you to stall out. And so finding your interest, finding that spark of what makes you really want to proceed with a project and what kind of excites your imagination, in some ways is much more important than writing what you know. It's writing what you find cool.
Right. Well, this has been a very, very enlightening conversation. I'd like to thank you once again so much for being here. I feel really rejuvenated about working on what I am. And, you know, we've got several more weeks left of NaNoWriMo. This is definitely not over. We're not even over that halfway hump yet. So this is going to be very, very interesting moving forward. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time out to speak with me. Is there any last things you'd like to add before we end our conversation for the day?
Yeah, just, you know, keep going. Even if you've fallen behind, remember anything that you've written this month is an achievement. It's, you know, all words are good words, all words matter. And so what you're going to do here is you're going to try to stick with it. If you have to lower your goal for the month, that's fine. You do what you need to do to take care of yourself and keep doing that. And as my younger friends always tell me, hydrate or dihydrate. So drink lots of water.
Thank you very much. And I will definitely keep that last one in mind too.
I'm the worst at it, so I need to be reminded.
You are not alone there. Thank you so much once again for joining me. I really appreciate it. And once again, I hope that I get to meet with you again at the end and talk to you about the final product and what to do then.
Yep, we'll see you then.
Have a great day, Valerie. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too.
Hey everybody, it's Anthony. Yesterday's goal was 25,005 and I reached 25,578. Time to party!